I can't lose tonight. I smiled. 2 hours later, I was out $21,000 and begging family for help. My name is Marcus. I'm a software developer with a baby on the way. Right now, I'm making payment plans with companies that use to auto-draft from my account. 8 months ago, I had it figured out. Decent job, wife picking nursery colors, normal worries about car seats and college funds. The medical bills came first. High-risk pregnancy, twice weekly monitoring, numbers that made my chest tight. That Tuesday night, I told my wife I was working late. I wasn't. I was at a table where everyone seemed to be winning, and I had our rent money spread across the betting circles like a solution point. 2 hours. That's all it took. I called my brother about a fake car repair. Called my parents about a fake surgery. Each lie came easier than the last. My pregnant wife sat at home, texting me paint swatches while I emptied accounts she didn't know I could access. The dealer, she tried to warn me with these small head shakes. I thought they meant I was due for a win. When a father-to-be gambles his daughter's arrival money and still can't stop, what dies first? The marriage, the trust, or the person he used to be? The medical bills covered our kitchen table like a losing hand of cards. Tuesday evening, 7:30, and Sarah was sorting them by due date while I pretended to check emails on my laptop. Each envelope she opened made a specific sound, that sharp tear of paper that meant another number we couldn't afford. 400 per visit after insurance, she said, holding up the latest statement from her high-risk pregnancy specialist. Twice a week until delivery. Her hand went to her belly, 7 months round now, where our daughter was doing her evening gymnastics routine. I did the math without looking up. $3,200 a month just for monitoring, plus the regular OB visits, plus the delivery deposit the hospital wanted up front, $8,000 by February. My software developer salary looked decent on paper until you laid it next to these numbers. Morning mist or cloud nine? Sarah asked, holding up two paint swatches that looked identical to me. She'd been trying to make the nursery perfect despite everything, as if choosing the right shade of pale gray could protect us from what was coming. Morning mist, I said, because I had to say something. She smiled, the kind that didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. Ashley's gift came today. Want to see? My sister-in-law had sent a $300 stroller system, the kind with 17 safety features and cup holders for parents who had their lives together. Sarah wheeled it into the kitchen, demonstrating how smoothly it rolled, how easily it folded. All I could think was that $300 would cover almost one monitoring visit. I could pick up some freelance work. I offered, though I was already pulling 50-hour weeks debugging code that made my eyes burn. That startup Derek mentioned needs help with their backend. You're already exhausted. Sarah abandoned the stroller demonstration and sat across from me. The overhead light caught the dark circles under her eyes. We'll figure it out. We always do. Except we didn't. Our checking account had $4,200, which would cover rent and utilities with nothing left over. My student loans were 3 months behind, generating automated calls I'd stopped answering. The credit cards were maxed except for the emergency one Sarah didn't know I knew about. Hidden in her jewelry box like a financial life raft, she spread the bills into categories: urgent, overdue, collections. Her organizational system was beautiful and useless. You can't budget money that doesn't exist. The specialist says the baby's doing great, she said, redirecting us toward hope. Strong heartbeat, good position. She's a fighter. Like we need to be. I watched Sarah's face as she talked about her daughter, the way her whole body softened when she described feeling kicks during her meetings at work. She was an office manager at a dental practice, on her feet all day when she should have been resting. Modified bed rest, the doctor had said, but we couldn't afford for her to stop working until the last possible moment. You should get some sleep, I said when she yawned for the third time. I'll clean up here. She stood slowly, one hand supporting her back. Don't stay up too late obsessing over those numbers. They'll still be impossible tomorrow. After she headed to bed, I sat alone with our financial autopsy. The refrigerator hummed. The apartment's thin walls let through our neighbor's television, some game show where people won money for answering easy questions. $21,000 in medical debt so far. $14,000 in student loans. Credit cards, almost $5,000. Against that, my take-home pay of $5,800 a month, Sarah's $2,400, and expenses that consumed every penny. I opened my laptop again, this time actually checking email. 17 unread messages from work about sprint deadlines and code reviews. Nothing that mattered compared to the stack of bills. My phone lit up with a notification from our bank. Helpful reminder that our checking balance was below $5,000. Then another text slid in from Derek. Poker game moved to Horseshoe tonight. You in? The 15-minute drive to the Horseshoe gave me time to construct my rationalization. I wasn't going to gamble, just meet Derek for a drink, decompress, maybe watch some poker. Normal coworker stuff. The $400 in my wallet was just there, incidental, emergency cash I'd withdrawn earlier for no particular reason. The parking garage smelled like it always did, stale beer mixed with cigarette smoke and someone's forgotten fast food. Third level, southeast corner, space 847. I'd parked there enough times to have a favorite spot. The elevator down played the same tired jazz loop, and an older woman in a tracksuit held a plastic cup of coins, heading up to her car. Any luck? I asked because that's what you ask. Not tonight, honey, she said, but she was smiling. Tomorrow's another day. The casino floor hit me with its manufactured twilight. No windows, no clocks, just eternal possibility under fluorescent stars. Slot machines sang their electronic songs while dealers shuffled cards in that specific rhythm that bypassed my brain and spoke directly to my nervous system. The carpet had the same burgundy and gold pattern that looked elegant from a distance and desperate up close that I passed the sports book where men my father's age studied racing forms like religious texts. Past the craps table where a crowd cheered someone's hot streak. Derek would be at the bar near the poker room, probably 3 beers in and ready to lecture me about pot odds. But my feet carried me toward the quieter section, table games, where the baccarat dealers worked with ceremonial precision. Less chaotic than craps, less strategic than poker. Just pure chance dressed up in ritual. Table 3. Lynn was dealing. She had to be mid-50s, Vietnamese, with the kind of steady presence that made you trust her even though her job was to take your money. She'd been here 2 months ago during my last visit, the night I'd won enough to pay for Sarah's ultrasound where we'd learned we were having a girl. A good omen, I'd thought then. She nodded when I approached, not quite recognition, but acknowledgement. 2 other players sat at the table, a young guy in a Warriors jersey who kept checking his phone, and an older businessman type who arranged his chips in perfect stacks. Welcome back, Lynn said, though I wasn't sure if she actually remembered me or if that was just good customer service that I pulled out the 400s, laid them on the felt. Just starting small tonight. She counted them with practiced efficiency, called out 400 cash to the pit boss, and slid over my chips. 8 greens, 20 reds. The weight of them in my hand felt like possibility. Place your bets, she announced in that dealer cadence. Not quite robotic, but stripped of emotion. The businessman put 500 on banker. The Warriors fan went with 200 on player. I started with a single green chip, $25 on player. Conservative. Responsible. Just entertainment. Lynn dealt with economical grace. 2 cards to player, 2 to banker, all face down. The Warriors fan, acting for player, squeezed his cards like they might change if he looked slowly enough. 7. The businessman revealed banker. 5. Player stood on 7. Banker drew a 3rd card, 3. 8 beats 7. My green chip disappeared into Lynn's collection, smooth as water down a drain. No worries, the Warriors fan said to nobody in particular. Players do. I placed another green on player. Then another. Won both times, the chips sliding back to me doubled. $50 up in 3 minutes. At this rate, I could turn 400 into 800, then leave. Pay 1 medical bill. Make a dent. The businessman colored up and left after losing 4 straight hands. His replacement was a middle-aged woman who reeked of cigarettes and perfume, clutching a laminated photo of what looked like a grandchild. For luck, she explained, propping it against her chip stack. Warriors fan was getting louder with each win, high-fiving the air when player hit. Can't lose tonight, he announced. I can feel it. Lynn's expression never changed. Shuffle, cut, deal, collect, pay. The same rhythm whether you won or lost. She'd probably seen 1,000 guys who couldn't lose tonight. I wondered if she remembered any of them, or if we all blurred together into one long shift of hope and regret that MY phone buzzed. Derek, where you at? I'm up $200. I typed back. On my way, grabbed gas first. Another lie, small and easy. They got easier every time. My stack had grown to 600. Two more wins, and I'd have enough for something real. Something that mattered. Place your bets, Lynn announced. I pushed everything forward, all 600, on a player. The Warriors fan whistled. The 600 became 1200 in a single hand. Player natural 9 over banker 7. The Warriors fan actually applauded, drawing attention from nearby tables. I should have felt victorious, but mainly I felt inevitable, like I'd finally synced with the universe's frequency. Sarah texted while I was stacking chips. Love you. Baby and I are watching Netflix in bed. She'd attached a photo, her swollen feet propped on pillows, our cat Milo curled against her hip. The nursery paint swatches were visible on the nightstand, still waiting for a decision that seemed impossibly small now that I texted back. Working late with Derek on that server issue. Love you both. The lie came so easily I barely noticed it. Derek's server issue had been resolved yesterday, but $1,200 could become $2,400, and $2,400 was almost a month of medical monitoring. I was being responsible, really, providing that a new player joined. An older Chinese man in an expensive suit who set down $10,000 in cash like he was buying groceries. Lynn counted it without expression, converting it to a mix of black and purple chips I'd only seen from a distance. He bet $2,000 on his first hand without hesitating. Big player. The Warriors fan whispered to me, as if we were suddenly on the same team. The energy at the table shifted. The grandmother with the photo started betting more, chasing the Chinese man's confidence. Warriors fan doubled his usual stakes, and I found myself pushing 200 per hand instead of 50, riding the wake of bigger money that we hit a streak. Player won 6 times straight. Statistically improbable, but statistics meant nothing in the moment. The Chinese man was up 15,000. Warriors fan kept buying rounds of drinks for the table, tipping the cocktail waitress with green chips. Even the grandmother was laughing, kissing her laminated photo between wins that I was at 3,200. Hot table, another dealer said as she walked past, and Lynn's mouth tightened almost imperceptibly. Carl, the pit boss, started hovering. A big man with the kind of belly that suggested a lifetime of comp meals. He watched our table while pretending to check his phone. Casinos got nervous when players won too much too fast. Changing dealers in 15. Carl announced, though Lynn had only been dealing for an hour. Don't change her. Warriors fan protested. She's lucky. Carl smiled the way people smile when they're not really smiling. Just rotation, sir. No worries. I did the math. 3,200 was good, but 8,000 was the hospital deposit. 3 more winning hands at maximum bet. Or I could walk away now with enough to cover 2 weeks of Sarah's monitoring. Leave the rest for another day. Sarah texted again, a row of question marks. Sorry, baby. This server's a nightmare. Don't wait up. The Chinese man ordered Crown Royal neat, the amber liquid arriving in a crystal tumbler that caught the casino lights. He raised it slightly toward the table, a toast to our collective fortune, then bet 5,000 on banker. I put everything on player. All 3,200. Warriors fan actually gasped. Bro, you sure? I wasn't sure of anything except that Sarah was 28 weeks pregnant, supposed to be on bed rest we couldn't afford, and our daughter deserved better than a father who couldn't provide. The chips sat in the player box like a promise I was making to my unborn child. Lynn paused for a fraction of a second before dealing. Her fingers hesitated over the cards, and she made eye contact with me, a look I couldn't interpret. Warning? Pity? Or just a dealer doing her job? The Chinese man squeezed his banker cards with theatrical slowness. The grandmother held her breath. Warriors fan stood up for a better view. Player shows 7. Lynn announced. Good, but not great. Banker could still win with 8 or 9. The Chinese man revealed his cards one at a time. First card, a queen. 0. Second card. An 8.8 beats 7. My 3,200 disappeared into Lynn's tray with the same efficiency she'd shown all night. The chips might have been checkers for all the emotion she displayed. Warriors fan slumped back in his chair. The grandmother touched her photo like a talisman that had failed. Tough break, the Chinese man said in accented English. The first words he'd spoken all night that I stared at the empty spot where my chips had been. The felt showed a slight indentation, a ghost of pressure already fading. In my pocket, my phone vibrated, Sarah again, or maybe Derek wondering where I was. But I couldn't move, Couldn't breathe normally. Couldn't do anything except calculate how fast I could get back to even. The ATM was 50 feet away. Our emergency credit card had a $2,000 cash advance limit. It would take 3 minutes to get the money, maybe 4. Lynn would still be dealing for another 10 minutes before the rotation. The streak could resume. Player was due. It had to be, after that loss. "You okay, honey?" the grandmother asked, and I realized I'd been holding my breath. "Yeah, just need to hit the ATM." The ATM made me confirm 3 times. "You are about to withdraw $2,000 as a cash advance. High fees and interest rates apply. Continue." Each confirmation felt like the machine was trying to save me from myself. But I pressed yes with increasing aggression until the bills finally emerged. 20 hundreds that felt both substantial and worthless. Back at table 3. The Chinese man had left, replaced by 2 younger guys who looked like they'd wandered over from a bachelor party. One wore a groom's crew t-shirt. They were drunk betting, throwing chips without counting, high-fiving every win. The grandmother had shifted 3 seats away from them. "You're back," Lynn said when I approached. Not a question. I laid the 20s on the felt. She counted them, precise, professional, and called out the amount for Carl's approval. He walked over, looked at me the way you'd look at a car accident, then nodded. 2,000 in chips, Lynn announced. The bachelor party guys whistled. "Big money." One shouted. I started with 500 on player. Lost. Another 500 on banker. Lost. The hundreds disappeared so fast I could barely track them. My hands shook as I pushed the remaining 1,000 forward, splitting it between player and a desperate tie bet at 8-1 odds. "That's the spirit." Groom's crew cheered. Player showed 6. Banker showed 5. Player drew a king, still 6. Banker drew a 3, 8 total. I lost everything except the tie bet, which also lost. $2,300 gone in 15 minutes. Warriors fan had stopped celebrating. "Bro, maybe take a break?" But I was already walking back to the ATM, this time maxing out Sarah's emergency credit card, the one hidden in her jewelry box that I'd memorized the numbers from months ago. Another 2,000. The machine warned me about fees again. I pressed yes harder, as if enthusiasm could change the math. My phone showed 12 missed calls from Tom, my brother in California. I called him back while waiting for the cash. "Jesus, Marcus, finally. Is Sarah okay? The baby?" "They're fine. Listen, Tom, I need your help." I told him about the Honda's transmission, how it died in the parking lot, how Sarah needed it for her doctor appointments. The lie was elaborate, detailed. The mechanic's name, Tony, the towing company, Desert Auto Recovery. The exact transmission part needed. $3,000, or we'd be without a car for weeks. Tom sighed. "That's our venue deposit, Mark." "I know. I'm sorry. I'll pay you back with my bonus." "Jennifer's going to kill me." "Please." Another sigh. "Western Union?" The casino had a Western Union counter near the sports book. I gave him the details, promised again to repay him, hung up before the guilt could swallow me. Outside, smokers huddled near the ashtrays, making their own desperate phone calls. A woman was crying, telling someone she didn't know how she'd explain this to her husband, by the time Tom's money arrived. Lynn had rotated to another table. The new dealer was younger, friendlier, making small talk about the weather. But I wasn't there for conversation. I was there to get back to even, then get ahead, then go home and pretend none of this happened. The 3,000 from Tom lasted 37 minutes. I in the bathroom stall. I tried to make myself throw up, thinking it might reset something, clear my head. But nothing came except dry heaves that left my ribs aching. The fluorescent lights made my reflection look like a corpse. Bloodshot eyes, patchy stubble, shirt soaked through with panic sweat. My phone battery was at 12%. Sarah had stopped texting. Tom had sent one receipt. I splashed cold water on my face and tried to think. Our checking account had $4,200. Rent was due Friday. Sarah checked the account daily, but not usually until morning. If I could turn that into 8,000, just get back to even, I could replace it before she noticed. The bathroom door opened. Warriors fan walked in, saw me, stopped. "Hey man, you good?" "Fine," I said to the mirror. "Look, I've been where you are. It gets better if you walk away. Worse if you don't." I said I'm fine. He shrugged, used the urinal, left without washing his hands. Through the door, I could hear the casino's constant soundtrack. Bells, chimes, the occasional cheer or groan. All of it calling me back. I found $500 in the car, cash I'd hidden in the owner's manual for real emergencies. Sarah going into early labor. Actual car trouble. Not this. But those scenarios felt abstract compared to the immediate problem of being down $9,000 with no way to explain it. Back inside, Lynn was dealing at table 5 now. She saw me approach and did something she hadn't done all night. She shook her head. Subtle, barely visible, but definitely directed at me. Table's full, she said, though there were clearly open spots. I can wait. Table's full, she repeated, firmer this time. Carl appeared at my elbow. Sir, how about we get you something to eat? On the house. The cafe has great burgers. I'm not hungry. Sometimes a break helps. Reset, you know. They were trying to cut me off, politely. But the new dealer at table 3 waved me over, happy for another player. Young guy, maybe 25, dealing cards like he was bartending. All flash and personality. Welcome. Feeling lucky. I put down the 500. He converted it to chips without any of Lynn's careful ceremony. First hand, player natural 9. I won. Second hand, banker pairs for a side bet I hadn't even made. By the fourth hand, I was up to 1,500. You're on fire, the young dealer announced, drawing players to the table. For 20 minutes, I couldn't lose. The chips accumulated, 2,000, 3,000, 3,500. I started believing in cosmic justice again, that the universe owed me this comeback. My phone died completely, freeing me from Sarah's silence and Tom's questions. At 4,000, I should have stopped. But 4,000 wasn't 8,000, and 8,000 wasn't the 21,000 I'd lost. The math kept expanding, demanding more. I bet it all on player. 4,000 on a coin flip, basically. The cards came out slow, the dealer maintaining drama. Player showed 5. Banker showed 6. Player drew a 4, 9 total. Banker drew a 10, still 6. Player wins. 8,000 in chips appeared in front of me. 8,000 should have been enough. It was exactly what we needed for the hospital deposit. I could walk away even, pretend this night never happened. Wake up tomorrow as Marcus the software developer instead of Marcus the degenerate gambler, but standing there with 8,000 in chips. All I could think about was Tom's wedding money, my parents' eventual questions, the credit card bills that would arrive like indictments. 8,000 was breaking even. 16,000 was actually winning. Let it ride. The young dealer asked, grinning like we were friends. I pulled back half. Bet 4,000 on banker. Lost it to player's natural 8. Bet the remaining 4,000 on player. Lost it to banker's 9. The chips disappeared into the dealer's tray with the same finality as everything else I'd touched tonight. He actually looked disappointed for me, like a bartender who'd overserved someone and just realized it. Tough beat, man. Maybe next hand. But I had nothing left to bet with. Every account was maxed. Every credit line exhausted. Every lie already told. I walked to my car in a trance, muscle memory navigating the parking garage. In the glove compartment, under the insurance papers Sarah had organized alphabetically, was her emergency credit card. The one she didn't know I knew about. The one we'd promised to never touch except for actual emergencies. This felt like an emergency. Back at the ATM, my fingers hesitated over the keypad. This wasn't just crossing a line, it was erasing it. But the alternative was going home with nothing. Explaining to Sarah that I'd gambled away our rent, our safety net, her trust point $2,000. The maximum cash advance that I didn't even make it back to Baccarat. Stopped at the roulette table instead, convinced that red was due after watching black hit 7 times straight. Put the entire 2,000 on red, one spin, all or nothing. The dealer, a bored-looking woman with acrylic nails, spun the wheel. The ball bounced, chattered, circled. I watched it like it carried my entire future, which I suppose it did. It danced between red 32 and black 15, teasing both, before settling into the green 00. 00, the dealer announced. Raking in all the chips. I stood there long enough that security approached. Sir? You all right? Fine, I said, though we both knew I wasn't done in the bathroom. I finally did throw up. Violent, painful heaves that left me gasping. Someone in the next stall asked if I needed help. I said no, cleaned myself up, and looked at my reflection one more time. 4:47 a.m. I'd lost over $20,000 in 9 hours. Sarah would wake up in 2 hours. Tom was waiting for a receipt that didn't exist. My parents would eventually learn their eldest son was exactly what they'd always feared: weak, irresponsible, the kind of man who'd gamble away his pregnant wife's security. My phone was dead, which felt like mercy. I couldn't face the missed calls, the texts, the gradual escalation from concern to panic to rage. Outside, dawn was starting to crack the darkness. Casino workers were arriving for morning shifts, fresh-faced and ready. One of them might have been Lynn's replacement, coming to deal cards to new versions of me. The cycle continuing, eternal as the casino's artificial twilight. I sat in my car for an hour, watching the sunrise paint the desert orange and pink. At 6 a.m., I plugged my phone into the car charger and watched it come back to life like a patient resurrecting. 43 missed calls, 18 from Sarah, 21 from Tom, 4 from my parents. The text loaded in waves. "Mark, where are you?" Derek called. "You're not at work. Please just tell me you're okay." "No, you're not at work." "Marcus, please. I'm calling the hospitals. If you're gambling." Again, I swear to God. The bank sent a fraud alert. "Marcus, our checking is empty." "I'm scared." Tom's messages were shorter. "Receipt?" "Mark, calling Sarah." "What the fuck?" I called Tom first, coward that I was. "Jesus Christ, Marcus. Sarah's been up all night. She thinks you're dead." "I'm sorry. Where are you?" "The horseshoe." Silence. Then, "How much?" "Everything." "Define everything." I told him. The checking account. The credit cards. His money. The numbers felt impossible coming out of my mouth, like admitting to a murder. "I need more," I said. 5,000. I can get back to even." "Are you fucking insane?" "Tom, please. I can't go home with nothing. Sarah's pregnant. You need to go home. Now. I can fix this." "With what money?" "My wedding?" Should I tell Jennifer we're getting married at McDonald's because my brother's a degenerate? The word hit like a slap. Accurate but stunning from Tom, who'd always been the supportive younger brother. 5,000, I begged. "I'll sign anything. Promissory note. Whatever you want." Another long silence. In the background, I could hear Jennifer asking who was calling so early. "This is the last time," Tom said finally. "The absolute last time." "I know." "No, you don't know. This is it. After this, you're dead to me. Understand?" "Yes." "Western Union. 1 hour." "And Marcus?" "After this, get help or get fucked." He hung up. I called Sarah next, but my courage failed after one ring. Instead, I texted, "Phone died. Server crash resolved. Coming home soon. I love you." She replied immediately, "Where are you really?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. The Western Union opened at 7 a.m. I was first in line, standing next to a woman clutching a garbage bag of clothes, sending money to someone in Mexico. The clerk recognized me from earlier, said nothing, processed Tom's 5,000 with professional detachment. Back at the tables, the morning crowd was different. Retirees mostly, drinking coffee instead of cocktails, playing with discipline I couldn't summon. They bet the same amount each hand, win or lose. Stopped at predetermined times. Talked about grandchildren between deals. I found Lynn at table 1, just starting her morning shift. She looked at me the way you'd look at a terminal patient returning for more chemo. "Sir," she started. "I know," I said. Laying down the 5,000, she converted it to chips with obvious reluctance. Carl wasn't in yet, but another pit boss, a younger woman with kind eyes, came over. "Everything okay here?" "Perfect," I said, though nothing had been perfect in hours. The 5,000 became 3,000 in 20 minutes. 3,000 became 1,000 in 10. I wasn't even watching the cards anymore. Just pushing chips forward like offerings to an indifferent god. When the last chip disappeared, Lynn did something unprecedented. She reached across the table and touched my hand. Brief, professional, but human. "Go home," she said quietly. That I couldn't go home. Not with nothing. Not with less than nothing. Negative $21,000 worth of nothing. In the parking garage, I called my parents. It was 10 a.m. in Boston, and my mother answered on the first ring. "Marcus, we've been worried sick." Tom called, but wouldn't say what was wrong. "Is Sarah okay?" "The baby." "Mom, I need help." "What kind of help?" "Money. $8,000. 8,000. My God, what happened?" The lie came easier than the truth would have. "Sarah's having complications. Severe preeclampsia. They want to do an emergency C-section, but our insurance. There's a coverage gap." We need 8,000 for the surgical team. I heard her gasp, heard her calling for my father, heard whispered consultation, panic, love. Of course, she said. Of course we'll help. Dad's going to the bank right now. Where should we send it? I gave her the Western Union information, promised to call with updates, hung up before the guilt could strangle me. They had maybe 10,000 in total savings. Postal worker pension and Social Security. They'd been saving for a cruise to celebrate Dad's 70th birthday. While waiting for their money, I sat in the casino cafe, drinking coffee that tasted like motor oil. The waitress, noting my appearance, kept refilling without being asked. Her name tag said Dolores, 27 years of service. Rough night? She asked. Yeah. They always are here, honey. You got someone to go home to. A pregnant wife. She whistled low. Then what are you still doing here? I didn't answer because the answer was too pathetic. I was still here because I couldn't face being anywhere else. The 8,000 from my parents arrived at 8:30 a.m. I walked to the tables like a death row inmate walking to execution. The morning shift dealers were all fresh, cheerful, ready to destroy lives with a smile that I found Brandon dealing at table 3. Young guy, maybe mid-20s, who treated dealing like performance art, flipping cards with flourishes, celebrating player wins like personal victories. Welcome. Feeling lucky this morning? No, I said, laying down the 8,000. He laughed, thinking I was joking. Converted the cash to chips while maintaining constant patter about the weather, the upcoming Super Bowl, anything to fill the silence that I bet conservatively at first. 500 per hand. Won 3, lost 4. The retirees at my table chatted about medication side effects and grandchildren's soccer games while I calculated how many hands I had left before ruin. Up to 10,000. Down to 6,000. Up to 9,000. The swings felt meaningless now, just numbers on a screen in a video game I'd already lost. Sarah texted. I'm at the hospital. My blood froze. What's wrong? Regular appointment. Remember? The one you were supposed to drive me to. I'd completely forgotten. Tuesday morning, high-risk monitoring, the $400 appointment we couldn't afford. I'm so sorry. Work crisis. I'll make it up to you. You always say that. By 9 a.m., I was down to my last 1,000. The retirees had all left for breakfast or naps. New players arrived, serious, grim-faced men who looked like they'd been where I was. Brandon dealt the last hand with his usual cheerfulness. All in. Bold move. Player showed 4. Banker showed 5. Player drew a 5. 9 total. Banker drew a 4. 9 total. Tie. Push. My 1,000 came back to me, neither won nor lost. A cosmic joke. Again. Brandon asked that I pushed it all forward one more time. The 1,000 became nothing in 3 hands. Brandon actually apologized as he collected the last chips, his performance persona cracking slightly. Better luck next time, man. But there wouldn't be a next time. I'd burned through every possible source of money, every relationship, every shred of dignity that I walked through the casino one last time. Past the slots where the morning zombies fed bills into machines. Past the craps table where someone was celebrating a hot streak. Past the sports book where men studied statistics as if probability meant anything. I in the parking garage. I sat in my car and did the final accounting. $21,000 lost. Marriage probably over. Job in jeopardy after no showing for an entire night. Parents' savings gone. Brother's wedding fund decimated. I drove home on autopilot, practicing speeches that all sounded hollow. The apartment complex looked different in the harsh morning light, shabbier, more desperate. Our unit was on the 2nd floor, and I could see Sarah's silhouette through the kitchen window. She was sitting at the table with her laptop open, not moving, waiting. I climbed the stairs like they were Everest. My key trembled in the lock. The door opened to silence. Sarah didn't look up from the laptop screen. Our bank account was open, showing negative $400 after automatic bills had tried to process against nothing. How much? She asked. 21,000. She nodded like she'd expected worse. Her face was puffy from crying, but she was past tears now, in some harder place. I've been hiding money, she said. 2,000 in a tampon box. For when you did this again. Sarah, your parents called. Worried about my emergency surgery. Tom called too. Jennifer's left him. What? She found out about the money. The wedding's off. I sank into the chair across from her. The paint swatches were still on the table, morning mist and cloud 9. Decisions that seemed impossibly quaint now. I'm sick, I said. I know. I need help. I know that too. She stood carefully, one hand supporting her belly. Ashley's coming to get me. I'll stay with her until we figure out what happens next. What about us? There is no us right now. There's me and the baby. And there's you and whatever you need to do to get better. I love you. That's the worst part, she said. I know you do. It just doesn't matter. Ashley arrived an hour later. I helped load Sarah's things into the car, clothes, the unopened baby supplies, the laminated ultrasound photos. Sarah didn't look at me as they drove away, but I saw her hand on her belly, protecting our daughter from me. The apartment felt hollow without her. I sat at the kitchen table and called the number on Carl's Gambler's anonymous pamphlet. A woman answered, said there was a meeting at noon, gave me the address of a church in Summerlin that I had 2 hours to kill and no money to lose. I spent them writing down every lie I'd told in the last 12 hours. The list covered 3 pages. The GA meeting was in the basement of Holy Spirit Catholic Church, the kind of wood-paneled room that hosted everything from AA to youth groups. Folding chairs in a circle. Coffee that looked like it had been brewing since the Reagan administration. Inspirational posters with sunsets and Bible verses. I was the youngest person there by at least a decade. The others looked like they'd been attending these meetings longer than I'd been gambling. Weathered faces, tired eyes. The specific exhaustion that comes from fighting yourself every day. The leader introduced himself as Mike. Former casino dealer. 15 years clean, now worked as an addiction counselor. He had the kind of calm that only comes from surviving your own worst disasters. We have a new face today, he said, nodding at me. Would you like to introduce yourself? I'm Marcus. I lost $21,000 last night. Someone whistled low. Another person chuckled grimly. 21,000 in one night. Asked a woman with bleached hair and nicotine-stained fingers. Honey, that's not a loss. That's a cry for help. They went around the circle. Each story was different, but the same. Lost houses. Lost families. Lost jobs. Lost decades. Robert had embezzled from his company, spent 5 years in prison. Maria had gambled away her mother's life insurance while her kids ate cereal for dinner. James had been clean for 6 years, then relapsed after his wife died, lost everything in a weekend. When it came back to me, I told them everything. The medical debt, the lies to Sarah, Tom, my parents. The way I'd convinced myself each bet would fix the previous loss. How I could still hear the sound of cards being shuffled if I closed my eyes. The casino's not your problem, Mike said when I finished. The casino's just where your problem lives. Your problem is thinking you can think your way out of feeling what you feel. What do I feel? What does any man feel when his wife's pregnant and he can't provide? When bills are bigger than paychecks? When life's moving faster than you can control? Terrified, right? And instead of feeling terrified, you chose to feel the rush of betting. Because that you could control, win or lose, the feeling was yours to create. After the meeting, Mike pulled me aside. You got somewhere to go? Empty apartment. That's dangerous. First few days, you need structure. Accountability. You working? I'm supposed to be. Calling sick. You are sick. Then hit another meeting tonight. There's one at 7 p.m. in Henderson. Tomorrow, there's a morning meeting here at 8 a.m. I'll see you at both. I called my manager, told him I had a family emergency. Not technically a lie. He said to take the time I needed, that my work had been slipping anyway, and maybe a break would help. The afternoon stretched empty. I cleaned the apartment obsessively, trying to scrub away evidence of my destruction. Found one of Sarah's prenatal vitamins under the couch and held it like a relic. Discovered a lottery ticket in my wallet, a $2 scratcher I'd bought weeks ago and forgotten. I tore it up without scratching it. Tom finally returned my calls around 4 p.m. Jennifer's at her mother's, he said without preamble. Tom, I'm so sorry. She wants to postpone the wedding indefinitely. Maybe cancel it altogether. I'll talk to her. Explain it's a sickness. Don't. You've done enough. I'm getting help. GA meetings. I'm going to pay everyone back. With what money, Marcus? My year-end bonus. Tax refund. I'll take a second job. You know what the worst part is? I knew you'd do this. Deep down, I knew when you called about the car. But I sent the money anyway because I wanted to believe my brother wasn't exactly who he turned out to be. He hung up. I sat with the phone in my hand, wanting to call back, knowing there was nothing left to say. The 7 p.m. meeting in Henderson was smaller, more intimate. 6 people in a church rectory that smelled like incense and old carpet. Mike was there, as promised, along with a young woman who couldn't have been older than 25 and a man in a suit who kept checking his phone like he was expecting news. 43 days clean, the young woman said when it was her turn. Still paying off the cash advances. Still explaining to my daughter why mommy can't buy her things anymore. The man in the suit had lost his real estate business. Started with sports betting. Just fun bets on games. Ended with me betting on Romanian table tennis at 3 a.m. because it was the only action available. When they asked about my day, I told them about Tom and Jennifer. About Sarah at her sister's. About sitting in my empty apartment staring at the walls. First few days are the hardest, Mike said. Your brain's screaming for the dopamine hit. You'll think of 1,000 reasons why one small bet would be fine. He was right. Driving home, I passed 3 casinos. Each one pulled at me like gravity. The horseshoe's neon sign might as well have been calling my name. I white-knuckled the steering wheel, took surface streets to avoid the strip. That night, Sarah finally called. The baby's been moving a lot, she said without preamble. The doctor says stress can cause increased fetal movement. I'm sorry. I need you to stop saying that and start doing something. I went to 2 GA meetings today. I'm going to another tomorrow. Good. Can I come see you? No. When? I don't know. Maybe after you've been clean for 30 days. Maybe longer. Our daughter needs her father. Our daughter needs a father who won't gamble away her college fund. Can you promise to be that person? I wanted to say yes immediately, but the word stuck in my throat. Could I promise? 12 hours ago, I'd been convinced that one more hand would fix everything. I'm going to try, I said instead. That's more honest, at least. After she hung up, I found an online GA forum and read stories until 3 a.m. Hundreds of variations on my theme. People who'd been clean for years, then saw a lottery billboard and lost everything. People whose spouses had installed tracking apps on their phones. People who'd self-excluded from every casino in the state, but found ways around their own barriers. One post stuck with me. The house always wins, but not how you think. Even when you win money, the house wins your soul. I thought about Lynn, dealing cards with mechanical precision. Did she go home and think about the lives she'd watched dissolve? Or were we all just blurs, interchangeable losers in an endless shift? My parents arrived unannounced the next afternoon. I just returned from the morning GA meeting when their rental car pulled up. Mom had aged years and days, new lines around her eyes, a tremor in her hands I'd never seen before. We came as soon as we could get flights, she said, hugging me like I might disappear. Where's Sarah? We brought things for the baby. The lie I'd told them hung between us like a toxic cloud. I couldn't maintain it facing them. Sarah's fine, I said. The baby's fine. There was no emergency surgery. Dad's face went through several expressions, confusion, understanding, rage, before settling on something worse, disappointment. The money, he asked. I gambled it. All of it. I'm sick, Dad. I'm in recovery now, but I'm sick. Mom sat down hard on our secondhand couch. $8,000. Our savings. I'll pay it back. With what? Dad's voice was controlled, the tone he'd used when I was young and had done something unforgivable. You have a baby coming. Sarah will need support. How do you pay us back while taking care of them? I don't know. You don't know. He laughed bitterly. 40 years carrying mail in every weather. 40 years of saving. Gone in one night so. You could. What? Feel excitement. Mom was crying silently. Not dramatic sobs, just tears rolling down her cheeks like her body was leaking grief. Where's Sarah really? She asked. At her sister's. We're separated. Because of this. Because of this. They stayed for 3 hours. We worked out a payment. Plan I couldn't afford. $500 a month until the debt was clear. Dad made me sign a promissory note, his postal worker precision requiring documentation. Mom kept touching my face like she was trying to recognize her son under the stranger I'd become. Before they left, she pressed something into my hand. A photo of me holding Sarah at our wedding, both of us laughing at something off camera. Remember who you were, she said. That person is still in there. But looking at the photo, I wasn't sure. That Marcus had believed he could control outcomes through hard work and good intentions. This Marcus knew that some hungers were stronger than virtue. Dr. Patricia Chin's office was in a strip mall between a Thai restaurant and a tax preparation service. Sarah was already there when I arrived for our first couples counseling session, sitting as far from the door as possible. Marcus, I'm Dr. Chun, the therapist said. She was younger than I'd expected, with a therapy dog that immediately went to Sarah. This is Chester. He's part of the process. Chester was a golden retriever with graying fur around his muzzle. He put his head on Sarah's lap, and she buried her fingers in his fur. So, Dr. Chin began. Tell me why you're here. He gambled away $21,000 while I was home picking paint colors for our daughter's nursery, Sarah said, her fingers still deep in Chester's fur. But that's not why we're here. Dr. Chun waited. We're here because this is the third time. Different amounts, different excuses, but the same pattern. And I'm 7 months pregnant, and I need to know if I'm raising this baby alone. Marcus, Dr. Chun turned to me. I'm sick, I said. I know that now. I'm going to GA meetings. I'm committed to recovery. How many meetings have you attended? 4 in 2 days. And how long since you last gambled? 51 hours. Sarah laughed, but it wasn't funny. 51 hours. Our marriage is hanging by 51 hours. Chester moved between us, sensing the tension. His tail wagged slowly, optimistically. Sarah, what would you need to see from Marcus to consider reconciliation? 90 days clean. Full financial transparency. I control all accounts. He takes extra shifts to pay back everyone he stole from. And he tells me every time he thinks about gambling, no matter how small the urge. Those sound like boundaries, not trust, Dr. Chin observed. Trust is earned. Right now, I'm just trying to protect my daughter. Our daughter, I corrected. No, Sarah said firmly. Right now, she's my daughter. You forfeited the hour when you chose the casino over her. The session continued for an hour. Dr. Chin asked about our history, our families, the pregnancy. Sarah revealed she'd been hiding money for months, knowing this day would come. I admitted I'd memorized her credit card numbers, had practiced lies in the mirror. Addiction thrives in isolation and secrecy, Dr. Chin said. Recovery requires radical honesty. Marcus, are you prepared for that? Yes. Sarah, can you handle hearing that honesty? I've been handling his lies for 3 years. The truth can't be worse. As we left, Dr. Chun gave us homework. I had to write down every gambling urge, no matter how minor. Sarah had to decide what recovery milestones would allow increased trust. We'd meet weekly, assuming I stayed clean. In the parking lot, Sarah stopped at her car, her sister's car. Actually, since Sarah couldn't drive our Honda without thinking about my fictional transmission lie. The baby's room at Ashley's is nice, she said. Painted morning mist, like I wanted. That's good. Tom called me. Jennifer's staying with her mother. They're in counseling too. Because of me. Because of choices you made, yes. She drove away without looking back. Chester's nose prints were still visible on her passenger window. That night's GA meeting was at a community center near the airport. Planes roared overhead every few minutes, forcing speakers to pause mid-confession. The group was mostly casino workers, dealers, cocktail waitresses, security guards who'd fallen into the machine they operated. Dealt blackjack for 15 years, one woman said. Never gambled once. Then my husband died, and I needed to feel something besides grief. Played slots on my breaks. Then tables. Then I was borrowing from loan sharks to cover mortgage payments. I thought about Lynn again. Was she immune, or just disciplined? Or was she at some other casino right now, feeding her paycheck into machines? 2 weeks clean. The shakes had mostly stopped, replaced by a constant low-grade anxiety that felt like wearing a shirt made of fiberglass. Everything itched. Sleep came in fragments, usually interrupted by dreams where I was winning impossible amounts, only to wake to my empty apartment and empty bank account. Sarah let me attend her 29-week prenatal appointment. The waiting room was full of happy couples, women comparing bump sizes, partners reading what to expect books. I sat apart, aware I looked like exactly what I was, a man on the margins of his own life. Baby's measuring perfect, the doctor said, running the ultrasound wand over Sarah's belly. Want to see her face? Our daughter appeared on the screen. In that ghostly ultrasound way, her profile clear and impossibly delicate. She had Sarah's nose. Her tiny fist was pressed against her cheek. She's beautiful, I whispered. Sarah reached for my hand. First contact in 2 weeks. She is. Have you picked a name? The doctor asked. Maya, Sarah said. It means illusion in Sanskrit. Seemed appropriate. The doctor didn't catch the bitter undertone, but I did. After the appointment, Sarah let me buy her lunch at a sandwich shop. We sat outside despite the February chill, both needing air. Tom and Jennifer set a new date, she said. July. Smaller venue. Backyard wedding at her parents' house. That's good. You're not invited. I know. Your parents are coming to help when Maya's born. Your mom asked if you'd be there. Will I? I don't know. How many days clean? 14. That's 2 weeks. You need 90 days for me to even consider it. 76 more days. If you're counting, you're white-knuckling. Mike says recovery isn't about counting days. It's about changing who you are. You talk to Mike. I go to Al-Anon meetings. For families of addicts. We're all in recovery because of you, Marcus. Not just you. That afternoon, I picked up extra shifts at work, nights and weekends debugging code for double time. The money went straight to an account Sarah controlled. $500 to my parents. $300 to Tom. $200 for medical bills. Nothing left for me, which was probably appropriate that MY manager, Kevin, knew something was wrong but didn't pry. Whatever you're dealing with, we support you, he said, which was corporate for don't let it affect your productivity. The code was actually soothing. Binary problems with definitive solutions. If this, then that. No ambiguity, no chance, no hope that maybe this time the cosmic odds would align. Just logic, cause and effect, predictable outcomes. One night, debugging a particularly complex function, I realized I'd written a gambling algorithm without meaning to. The code randomly selected outcomes based on weighted probabilities. I stared at it for an hour, then deleted the entire function and started over with something deterministic. You can't escape it, Mike said at that night's meeting. Gambling metaphors are everywhere. Life's a gamble. Take a chance. Bet on yourself. You have to learn to hear them without responding. How? Same way you quit smoking or drinking or any other addiction. You acknowledge the urge and let it pass. Don't fight it. That gives it power. Just notice it and move on. Easier said than done when every gas station advertised lottery jackpots and every radio commercial promoted casino getaways. 1 month clean. March arrived with unexpected rain that flooded the desert, making everything smell like wet concrete and creosote. Sarah agreed to let me see her twice a week. Counseling on Tuesdays, dinner on Fridays if I'd attended all my GA meetings. You look better, she admitted over Chinese takeout at her sister's kitchen table. Ashley made herself scarce, but I could feel her presence, protective and suspicious. I feel worse, I said honestly. Before, I could always tell myself that one big win would fix everything. Now I have to face that I'll be digging out of this hole for years. Welcome to adulthood. Most of us live here all the time. Maya kicked, visible through Sarah's shirt. She's active tonight. Can I? I reached toward her belly, stopped halfway. Sarah nodded. I felt our daughter moving, strong and insistent, already fighting for space in the world. I'm 31 weeks, Sarah said. 9 more to go? What will you be like in 9 weeks? 70 days clean. Still paying debts. Still going to meetings. Same as now, but more so. That's not inspiring. Recovery isn't inspiring. It's just daily work. Tom finally took my call that week. Brief, businesslike, but contact. Jennifer's agreed to honor the original wedding party, he said. But you're not part of it. I understand. Do you? Because I'm not sure you understand what you cost me beyond money. She almost left. We're in counseling because she doesn't trust my judgment anymore. Because I gave you money I knew you'd lose. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Time does. Years of time. Dr. Chun had us do an exercise where I had to tell Sarah every gambling thought I'd had that week. The list was longer than I'd expected. Saw a scratch-off ticket on the ground. Wondered if it was a winner-calculated odds of rain ruining. Tom's outdoor wedding, watched a poker tournament on TV at the gym for 10 minutes, dreamed about finding chips in my pocket, heard slot machines in a movie, and felt my heart rate increase. The dreams are normal. Dr. Chin said, your brain is processing. The TV watching concerns me more. That's seeking activation. I changed the channel. After 10 minutes, Chester put his paw on my knee, either comforting or warning. I need to tell you something, Sarah said. I've been looking at apartments. Small ones I could afford alone. Oh, not. Definitely. Just preparing. In case. In case I relapse. In case you're who I'm afraid you are instead of who I hope you'll become. That night's GA meeting was brutal. A member named Carlos had relapsed after 3 years clean. His son's college tuition money, gone in a weekend. I thought I was cured, he said, crying openly. 3 years. I was sponsoring other people. Then I walked past a casino on a business trip, and it was like those 3 years never happened. That's the disease, Mike said. It's always there, waiting. Recovery isn't a cure, it's a daily practice. Every day you choose not to gamble. And some days that choice is harder than others. I thought about the 70 days until Sarah might let me come home. It felt like a lifetime. Carlos had made it 3 years and still fell. What chance did I have? 6 weeks clean. I'd moved into a smaller apartment, month-to-month lease, just a mattress on the floor and a card table for my laptop. Everything else had been sold to pay debts. The empty space felt appropriate, physical manifestation of what I'd hollowed out. Sarah went into false labor at 33 weeks. Ashley called me at 2 a.m., said they were at the hospital. I drove there in pajamas, ran 3 red lights. Found Sarah hooked to monitors while a nurse explained Braxton Hicks contractions. You came, Sarah said. Surprised. Of course I came. Even though you can't afford gas. I walked partway, then took a bus, then ran the last mile. She laughed, first real laugh I'd heard from her in weeks. You're an idiot. Yes. But you came. Always. They sent her home with instructions to rest. I drove them in Ashley's car while Ashley sat in the back, vigilant. At their apartment, Sarah let me help her up the stairs, my hand on her back where it used to rest naturally. Stay for breakfast? She asked. Ashley started to protest, but Sarah waved her off. He's been clean 6 weeks. He ran to the hospital. He can have pancakes. We ate quietly while Maya performed what felt like a full gymnastics routine in Sarah's belly. She knows her dad's here, Sarah said, then caught herself. I mean, maybe. Who knows what they know? I've been thinking about when she's older, I said. What we tell her? The truth, Sarah said immediately. Age-appropriate truth, but truth. Addiction runs in families. She needs to know her risks. My daughter will grow up knowing her father's a gambling addict. Your daughter will grow up knowing her father faced a disease and chose recovery. That's the best-case scenario. What's the worst case? She grows up without a father because he chose gambling over her. After breakfast, I helped assemble Maya's crib, the one Sarah had bought with her hidden money. Every screw felt like penance, every board a promise to be better than I'd been. That week's counseling session, Dr. Chen asked about intimacy. We haven't touched beyond medical necessity in 6 weeks, Sarah said. I miss you, I admitted. I miss who you were, or who I thought you were. I'm not sure that person existed. He did. He does. Under the sickness. Maybe. But I can't reach him through all the walls you built. Chester sprawled between us. A golden bridge neither of us could cross. My parents visited again, this time announced. Dad had aged, new stoop to his shoulders, deeper lines around his mouth. Mom brought food, as if casseroles could repair fractures. 50 days clean, I told them. Good, Dad said. But the word carried no warmth. We went to a GA meeting together. They sat in the back, listening to stranger after stranger detail losses that dwarfed their 8,000. I think Dad finally understood it wasn't about the money. It was about the compulsion that made the money disappear. It's a disease, Mom said afterward. Like Uncle Ray's alcoholism. Uncle Ray died drunk, Dad reminded her. But he tried. For years, he tried. Is that supposed to be comforting? She took his hand. It's supposed to be honest. March 15th. 2 months clean, and Maya decided to arrive 5 weeks early. Sarah called at 5 a.m. Water broke. This is real. Ashley's driving me. I met them at the hospital, same one where we'd had the false alarm. This time, Sarah was dilated, contracting regularly, and our daughter was coming whether we were ready or not. You can stay, Sarah said between contractions. I want you to stay. 14 hours of labor. I held Sarah's hand, fed her ice chips, reminded her to breathe when contractions peaked. Ashley stayed too, suspicious but supportive. The nurses treated me like any other expectant father, not knowing I was barely allowed in my wife's life. I'm scared, Sarah admitted during a brief break between contractions. Of labor, of after, of doing this alone. You're not alone. Are not. Before I could answer, another contraction hit. Sarah squeezed my hand hard enough to leave bruises. Maya arrived at 5:47 p.m. 6 pounds, 2 ounces. Perfect despite being premature. Her first cry was strong, angry at being evicted early. The nurse placed her on Sarah's chest, and everything else disappeared. The debts, the separation, the meetings, the counting days. Just this, my wife and daughter, bloody and beautiful and alive. "Hi, baby," Sarah whispered. "I'm your mom. That disaster crying in the corner is your dad." I was crying. Huge, ugly sobs that I couldn't control. The nurse handed me tissues with practiced kindness. "Do you want to hold her?" Sarah asked. I was terrified I'd drop her, gamble her away somehow. But Sarah placed Maya in my arms. She was impossibly small, her whole hand barely wrapping around my finger. Her eyes were dark, unfocused, but I swear she saw me. "I'm sorry," I whispered to her. "I'm so sorry for starting your life in chaos. I'll do better. I promise I'll do better." Sarah was exhausted but wouldn't sleep. "I have to watch her. Make sure she's real. She's real. Sometimes I thought neither of you were. That I'd made up this whole life and would wake up alone. The hospital needed insurance information. The bills would be crushing, even with coverage. Sarah had prepared for this too. Payment plans already negotiated, forms filled out for assistance programs. She'd been managing our disaster while growing a human. My parents arrived that evening. Mom held Maya like she was made of spun glass. Dad took exactly 3 pictures, then sat in the corner chair watching, as if memorizing the scene. "She looks like you did," Mom told me. "Same nose." "Poor kid," I said. "No, lucky kid. She has parents who love her." "Parent. Singular. Who loves her?" "Parents," Mom insisted. "Broken ones, maybe, but still parents." Tom and Jennifer sent flowers with a note. "Congratulations. Every child deserves a fresh start." I chose to read forgiveness in it, though Sarah said I was projecting. That night, while Sarah dozed, I held Maya and made promises I hoped I could keep. 61 days clean felt like nothing against the 18 years stretching ahead. But it was all I had, 61 days, and this moment, her weight in my arms. Her breath synchronizing with mine. 1 year later, I watched the horseshoe slide past in the rearview mirror as Sarah navigated us toward the zoo. Maya, strapped in the car seat Ashley had given us, threw her stuffed elephant and laughed when Sarah reached back to return it. "Red light," Sarah said, and I grabbed the elephant, making it dance for Maya while we waited. 11 months clean. Living at home since Maya was 3 months old. Still sleeping in the guest room, but in the same house. Progress measured in increments. The debts were smaller, but still present. Tom and Jennifer had their backyard wedding, beautiful despite everything. I wasn't there, but Sarah sent pictures. Tom looked happy. Jennifer looked relieved. They were expecting now, moving forward while I was still paying for moving backward. "Remember when we used to come here?" Sarah asked as we pulled into the zoo parking lot. "Our 3rd date. You tried to impress me with facts about penguins. Did it work?" "No, but your terrible penguin impression did." Maya squealed at the elephants, reached for the giraffes, fell asleep during the reptile house. Normal family doing normal things. Except for the GA meeting I'd attend that night, and the financial review Sarah conducted every Friday, and the way she still flinched when I mentioned money. "Dr. Chun says I should tell you something," Sarah said over lunch at the zoo cafe. "Okay, I love you." Present tense. Not past, not conditional. Current state. I love you too. But love isn't enough. I know. Do you? Because sometimes I think you believe if you just stay clean long enough, we'll reset to before. But there is no before. There's just this, me loving you but not trusting you. You being here, but me always watching for signs you're about to leave. Maya threw her sippy cup. I retrieved it, grateful for the distraction. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "Time. Years of time. And even then, you might not trust me." "Yes." We drove home the long way, avoiding the strip. Maya fell asleep, and Sarah reached over to take my hand. 1 year is huge," she said. "I'm proud of you. 365 days of not doing something isn't an achievement. It is when that something almost killed us." At home, I gave Maya her bath while Sarah prepared dinner. Normal evening routine, except I noticed Sarah had hidden her wallet again. Small things like that, locked drawers, hidden cash, separate bank accounts, reminded me what I'd broken. Mike called during dinner. One of our GA members had relapsed, needed support. I looked at Sarah, who nodded. "Go. We'll be here." The meeting was rough. Danny had lost his kids' college funds on sports betting, convinced he had inside information. His wife had left, taken the kids to her mother's in Utah. He sat in the circle, hollow-eyed, repeating, "I had 3 years clean," like a mantra. 3 years isn't gone, Mike said. You still have that knowledge, that growth. This is a setback, not erasure. Tell that to my kids. You tell them. Every day, through your actions, tell them you're fighting to be their father again. After the meeting, I sat in my car in the church parking lot and called Tom. "It's late," he said. "I know. I just wanted to hear your voice. You okay?" "Yeah. No. I don't know. Someone relapsed today. 3 years clean, then lost everything again. That won't be you." "How do you know?" "I don't. But you call me when you're scared. That's different from before. I'm sorry about your wedding. About Jennifer. About everything. I know. Do you forgive me?" Long pause. "I'm trying. Some days I do. Some days I'm so angry I could punch through walls. But you're my brother. That doesn't change." When I got home, Sarah was in Maya's room, rocking her back to sleep. I stood in the doorway watching them. My wife and daughter, still here despite everything. "Tomorrow's her first birthday," Sarah whispered. "I know. I have the day off. Whatever you want to do. Just this. Just be here. All of us. Together. Nobody leaving for anywhere." "I can do that." "Can you?" "Yes." Maya stirred, opened her eyes, saw me and smiled. She reached out, and Sarah passed her to me. Her weight, familiar now, still felt like redemption I hadn't earned. "Dada," she said, her newest word. "That's right, baby. Dada's here." Sarah leaned against me, carefully, like testing ice. We stood there, the three of us, in the soft light of Maya's nightlight. Outside, the city blazed with neon promises. Inside, we held each other in the quiet dark, fragile but whole. Tomorrow, Maya would take her first unassisted steps. Tomorrow, I would celebrate 1 year clean. Tomorrow, we would continue becoming whoever we were becoming. Not the family we'd planned, but the family we were. The horseshoe was still out there, Lynn still dealing cards to people like I'd been. But I was here, holding my daughter while my wife dozed against my shoulder. Here was harder than anywhere else. Here was where I needed to be. Chester, the therapy dog, had been right to sit between Sarah and me all those months. The distance needed honoring. But tonight, in this room with elephant decals on the walls and Maya's breathing steady against my chest, the distance felt crossable. Not crossed, not yet, but possible. Point one day at a time.